All right, our rising population needs a sound education. Do we really have it? Well, to speak with us about that, but more importantly, what's happening with CSEC, CAPE, SEA, even with the postponement of that? What's happening here in Trinidad and Tobago? Are the moves sufficient to satisfy those who are affected? So let's welcome to the program the Minister of Education, the Honorable Nian Gatsby-Dolly, to talk to us about all of this. Good morning to you, Mrs. Gatsby-Dolly.
Hi, Natalie. Morning. How are you?
I am trying to stay away from everybody because I can't afford to catch no COVID.
Yep. I think that's
But then you are on the front
story.
line. You are considered frontline, so you have to be out there. How do you stay safe?
We work from home as much as possible. And when we have to go out, of course, we do all the things that keep you safe. You wear the mask, sanitize, and so it's just ensuring that you keep all the protocols.
Right. Well, Minister, I really invited you here to talk about the exams, coordinated and overseen by CXC, CAPE, CSEC, SEA as well, and just what's really happening with that. Because while we've had a postponement of SEA, why not CSEC and CAPE?
Okay, well, actually, it may very well be that there would be a postponement of CSEC and CAPE, and that is because, again, of the changing situations since March, April, when we would have made, as ministers of education of the region, our recommendations to CSEC, about CSEC and CAPE to CXC. So at that time, of course, the numbers were very different from what they are now. St. Vincent didn't have a volcano that was erupting. Barbados and other countries around the region also were having a different COVID landscape. So the fact is that we would have made those recommendations at that time, and foremost in all of our minds as ministers of education was that we wanted to give some certainty to our students in an uncertain time. And so we wanted to ensure that they understood the date that they were working towards, and everybody was going to, get to that point. And in February, because we were able to allow our exam students to go back out to school, so it was a completely different landscape. However, now we've had to look at what is the reality and say, well, based on what we have now, we would prefer if we have a bit of a delay to allow our numbers to reduce somewhat, to give our students, our teachers, our parents a better sense of safety with their students going out.
So when will the stakeholders know?
To CXC.
Sorry, today. When will the stakeholders know, if the exam will be postponed, yes or no?
Today. Yesterday, the CXC council
Minister,
met.
Tell us, no man. We want to let the audience know.
It's actually coming from CXC, and what I can tell you is that based on the meeting of the council yesterday, the council ministers of education don't sit on the council, but our permanent secretaries do. Based on what was discussed yesterday, it seems as though there is going to be a postponement in the start of the CXC exams. It should be either 2 or 3 weeks. We have asked for 3, but I think it is going to be more in the line of 2 weeks, but that is going to come out today. CXC would have met with the council if the fulsome discussion would have taken place, and so that may be what comes out of it. Certainly, we would appreciate that delay. We want to give the time for our measures to actually result in a reduction that makes everyone more comfortable. We also want to give the time for as much examination personnel as possible to be vaccinated, at least with their first shot. And so that's what we want.
And we understand all of this, but especially with the extension, the extension of the SOE to 3 months, wouldn't that in itself pose some additional challenges, even if the exams are postponed by 2 to 3 weeks?
The SOE itself doesn't pose any particular challenge, except that when papers have to be moved and so on, we would have to ensure that the staff moving has curfew passes, that kind of thing. So it's no real challenge in terms of actually carrying out the exam, not particularly.
Now, if the numbers in Trinidad and Tobago, now as we say, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they aren't going to recover in 2 to 3 weeks. We know this. Even Barbados may have been displaced a bit by the eruption of the La Soufrière volcano. So if the numbers in Trinidad and Tobago continue, I think even Jamaica had asked for a postponement. Will we be seeing an additional postponement past the 2 to 3 weeks for CISA Cape and even the SEA?
Everything depends on the numbers, Natalie. However, based on the discussions that happened yesterday, I don't think we're going to see a delay beyond that, barring, some kind of real tumultuous circumstances. So we are looking at that and looking at the numbers and really hoping that we see that decrease. For SEA, we have quite a bit more time with the SEA, and so we are looking to see and very hopeful of that decrease.
Right. And yesterday I spoke with TUTA, the president of TUTA, Antonia Tika de Freitas, and she thought that the health of the students and even the health of the parents, aren't being put on the front line, because while it's important to have the exams, I think her whole idea was that, listen, the health of these people have to be, on the forefront, because while we may think that, okay, an extension of 2 to 3 weeks of these for SEA, at least when we spoke yesterday, is important. The thing is that we have a lot of parents and students in a lot of very traumatic situations, whether it's for online learning, whether it's for the COVID pandemic, whether it's for the parents testing positive or even dying. And she believes that all of these things should be, the guiding light to making the decisions around SEA and the other exams. But it doesn't appear so to TUTA. So what is it that you can say to TUTA or to the public? Because people are really anxious. We know this, to give them some sort of comfort for even these people, these categories of people who are experiencing this trauma at this time. All right, I am not hearing the minister. We seem to have lost the minister. Are we going to take a break and come back? Minister, are you hearing me? All right, no. So I think we're going to take I am not hearing you either, Raucus. You're muted. So I think we're going to take a break and we'll be back. All right, welcome back. Our apologies for the disruption just now. But with technology, we do have these things. We get right back into it. Minister, I was asking you before we took the break about these people who would have been displaced not only by the pandemic, but by online learning, by their parents contracting COVID-19 or even dying. Are the decisions that are being made guided by these things, or are we just looking at, the numbers in terms of the amount of COVID positive numbers we have and making decisions based on that?
It's taken into account all of that. It's taken into account the fact that teachers also would have had a transition getting onto online teaching, and many of them would have been undergoing training, trying their best to finish the syllabus, trying their best to deal with students who are transitioning. So it's taking into account all of that. And more importantly, it's also taking into account the future of our children and the fact that they are going to have to still have qualifications to move on in their careers and so on. So it's really looking at the best of the circumstance, understanding that it is difficult for all, but really just making the measures as reasonable as possible so our students can have the best chance of success.
No, yesterday when I spoke to Antonia Tika de Freitas, so she indicated to me that there are children who would have lost parents to COVID-19. There are children who have to be taking care of parents because of, them being COVID positive. But not only that, she said something to me that took me by surprise, that there are children who are on suicide watch. How does the ministry treat with something like this?
This is not something new, and it's something that we have to avoid. We have to take our minds to the fact that even in the physical environment where there was face-to-face, we had students with all of these problems. And that is why many years ago, the Student Support Services Division came about, because we do have students with challenges, even in a normal environment. So COVID has brought different challenges, and some students who may not have been challenged before may be challenged now, but it is not as though this is an unheard of circumstance. In a normal environment, there are students with sick parents. There are students who are sick themselves. There are students dealing with so many other issues. So the services of the Student Support Service Division, they are always working. They have been trained to do online. They have been interacting with the students, with the parents, and so on, to bring a measure of relief, because we know there are always that cohort of students who have challenges and who need that help.
Now, since the pandemic, we have had, according to one of the articles in one of the dailies this morning, that there are 2,000 students who are out of the system completely. Minister, I beg to say that I think it's more than that. Up to December, when I spoke to the head of Serval, she indicated that 700 of the 1,200 students weren't online. 700 of them were completely out of the system. What is the ministry doing to ensure that all of these people, whether they can, it's connectivity, whether it's devices, whether it's printed packages, that you all get to them so that we don't have so many students falling through the cracks?
Let me just say that the ministry can do everything that it is doing, which is making sure that the schools have a clear guideline of what is to happen with students who are online, those who are not online, in terms of packages and so on. The ministry can, as it did, appeal to the private sector to donate devices, more than 22,000 devices donated and given out to students at this time. The ministry can order devices, which we have, and which we expect to take delivery of in early June, 20,000 laptops to distribute to students. The ministry can do all of that. But Natalie, I can tell you that unless parents pick up that responsibility of ensuring that their children do what is needed, we will continue to have this problem. The ministry is not inside of the home and therefore cannot do that part of it. The teachers, of course, can do their best. SSSD can do their best. But this is something that involves parental responsibility. And we've seen so many parents, speaking about how much it is to get that done. I can tell you as a parent myself, one of my main functions is to ensure my child gets up. My children, I have two in the secondary school system, get up and get onto their classes in the morning, make sure that be checking up on them throughout the day, making sure that the elder sibling is looking out for the younger one and that they are engaged. So that is.
But the ministry has a responsibility to the schooling of children, though. That's the responsibility of the ministry. And I do believe that there are a lot of people who aren't getting the support it needs. I know that even to this day, there are people who are still in need of devices. There's people who are still having issues with printed packages, because we do get the complaints. We do get the complaints that, okay, even if you get the packages, this is not going right, that is not happening, and all of these things. So outside of the parents, which I know that that's a genuine problem as well.
But that's a big part of a problem. Now, if you remember that the parents are mentioned in the Education Act, this cannot happen on the ministry alone. It has to be a partnership between ministry and parents really have been stepping out and doing their best. On the ministry's end, our teachers have also been working hard, reaching out to parents and teachers and students who we cannot get on to. In some cases, the records that are left at the school, they don't have that phone, so therefore the SSSD officer has to try to make a visit to the home. Imagine in these circumstances, we have officers still trying to do that. So I am not saying that the ministry, on the ministry's end, everything is perfect, and on the school end, everything is perfect. But I am saying that in the cases of missing students, there's a serious responsibility of parents that has to be acknowledged. The ministry can only go that far. And I would have met with the community police and social development along with SSD earlier, and we're going to meet again. And this is a matter that is attracting our attention, the missing students. How do we reach them? And we have to engage the services of the community police, because not every student who is missing, the SSSD officers, and of course, we know that we need more of them, they can't always make those house visits. And depending on where they have to go, it can be a situation where they do need the intervention of the community police. So we have had that discussion, and we are trying to bring them more formally into the equation to deal with that. It's not a simple matter that the Ministry of Education alone can deal with. We have to have that support as well, and we usually do, and we are pulling that in even more at this time.
All right, Minister, thank you so much for speaking with us this morning, and we are waiting to hear today, what's the new date for CSEC and CAPE. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Take care, Natalie. Stay safe.
Yes, you're most welcome. You too. Minister Nyan Gatsby Dolly there speaking with us.